Okay, are we ready to start? Pam, you ready? Mike, you ready?
Yes, ma'am. I just text you and giving you a thumbs up and waving at you, and we're ready.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, let's welcome everyone tonight to the tonight's Community Advisory Board meeting. Every month we begin with our district celebrations, and looks like we have some Gibbs partners tonight. But before we do that, we need to welcome a new CAB member tonight. Sandrika Morning is with us. She is actually an uncontested school board candidate for Zone 2, I believe. But she also lives in the former Zone 6, where the CAB zone is. So she's been appointed now to serve on our CAB. And Mike, I'll turn it over to you to introduce her and let her make some comments.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fox, and we welcome Ms. Morning. And Ms. Morning and I have got to get to know each other a little bit over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and had a good one-on-one just about a week ago. And this is a young person that is heavily invested in our community, grew up in our community, and is really tied to a lot of things that are very positive. In particular, poetry is one of her passions, and her husband is, actually I met her husband 4 years ago at a poetry jam fest in North Little Rock, and didn't know it, but Miss Morning and I were in the same room, but I don't think we got to meet. So it's really exciting to have her joining us as a CAB member for the next several months, but also to know that she will be one of our future. She's the first Little Rock School Board member that has, along with Mr. Mason, who doesn't have to run either against anyone unopposed. And so, Ms. Morning, would you like to just welcome, greet everyone, and also just share a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. But thanks. I'm excited to be a part of this board. Again, I'm 26. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. I was born and raised in Southwest. I attended J Fair, graduated from East Stem Charter, graduated from the University of Central Arkansas at Conway with my degree in insurance and risk management. I'm currently the arts and education program manager here in Arkansas. So I'm very definitely invested in the arts and our youth. So I'm just excited to serve and looking forward to what magic we create.
Spoken like a true artist. So thank you and welcome, Ms. Morning.
Ms. Poor, you want to go ahead and move into our celebrations since we celebrated this morning already? And welcome this morning. We're excited to have you here.
I will, and thank you very much, Ms. Fox. We're going to begin with our VIPS group and Ms. Tammy Blaylock introducing 3 of our partners in education. We know that we have some of our school people on as well to help recognize these outstanding partners and people that are really making a difference in our community and specifically for our children here in the Little Rock School District. So I'll turn it over to Tammy.
Well, thank you. You know, it's a pleasure for me to be here tonight. And as always, a privilege to have the opportunity to highlight some of the district's newest partners in education. It's unfortunate that we have to resort to the virtual alternative. We're not able to shake these folks' hands and give them a pat on the back for all the good things that they're doing. But I do want to have the opportunity to present them to the CAB board as well as our community, because they need to know all the great work they're doing. First up, we have First Community Bank in partnership with the Little Rock Southwest High School. And I know Ms. Macon's on the phone, on the Zoom tonight with us. Raise your hand, let them know you're here. I'm glad you're here. Since 2019, Principal Marvin Burton and Community Outreach Officer Miguel Lopez has been charting a course for this partnership. And First Community is going to support Southwest students and staff with budget management, banking curriculum, career day speakers, and incentives. And they're hoping to broaden the resources available to the school's Latino community. And Ms. Macon, would you like to say a few words in regard to the partnership at Southwest?
Absolutely. Just wanted to say we are thrilled about our partnership with First Community Bank. And as you stated, this partnership is going to help support the Academy structure in the areas of financial literacy, mentorship, banking, and so much more. Thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here tonight and representing the school.
Thank you.
Next up, I would like to formally present to you the partnership between Heron and Horton Architects and Gibbs Magnet Elementary School. I know we have several Gibbs representatives here tonight. Ms. Burt and Ms. Greenwood, raise your hands. Let them know you're here. Thank you for allowing us to highlight your partnership, because to me, it's a perfect example of a strong foundation through community support, where the Heron and Horton associates are going to focus on tutoring and mentoring and classroom presentations, as well as school supplies. Would anyone like to speak on behalf of the partnership? It's okay if you don't.
It's Tina Greenwood at Gibbs. I would like to. I'm just truly excited about the opportunity to connect with the Heron Horton Incorporated, excuse me for that. And I'm excited that we'll be partnering together. And I always believe in a partnership is a two-way street. So I can't wait to find ways that we can give back to them as well, and just collaborating with them. And Ms. Burt, who's our parent facilitator, she's excited to have them on board as well. So thank you so much. And they're going to be a huge part of our school and our community. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry that Jennifer and Jeffrey were unable to join us tonight. They had previously thought they could, and they're excited about this partnership. So we welcome them.
Ms. Burt, did you have anything that you wanted to add as the parent coordinator on this partnership? No? Okay. I just wanted to give you that opportunity. We appreciate you being on tonight as well.
Thank you. Yeah. We also have Kaleiske Heights Elementary School. Ms. Anna Lloyd was thrilled when Fellowship Bible Church Midtown campus came forward this summer amid the pandemic and said, how can we help you prepare for fall? And they are willing to do anything from painting safety lines and social distancing cues at the school to participating in outdoor activities that provide alternatives for the students. And I know Principal Anna Lloyd is here tonight, and I know she would like to say a few words about this partnership because she's so excited and appreciative.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I am super excited. The opportunity to partner with Fellowship Midtown miraculously materialized and landed on my doorstep. I'm so grateful to Hannah Rutherford and her team for making our grounds beautiful prior to the start of school, for feeding our staff, providing paper sacks for online learners, and praying for our school community. Our buckets have been filled and are overflowing as a result of this partnership, and we look forward to providing them with some things like Ms. Greenwood said, moving forward. So I'm so appreciative to them for supporting us.
Thank you, and I'm sorry that Hannah could not be with us tonight. She had also previously thought she could join us, and these are difficult to reschedule when situations arise where they can't, but we do want the general viewing audience to be aware of these three wonderful partnerships. And be sure to say thank you if you ever see them out in your daily life or in the business world, because they're being very supportive of our schools. Thank you again to Fellowship Bible Church Midtown, to Heron Horton Architects, and to First Community Bank. And that's our presentation for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. And if all the principals could stay on just for one extra second, and also I know we have Renata and Shanna, if you please stay on as well. I'm going to go rogue a little bit with you on a celebration that I was going to put in on our plan of looking at Ready for Learning, but because this deals with Anna's school, I just want to read this letter that I received from Miss Lloyd today that I think really exemplifies all about partnerships. It exemplifies about the wonderful staff we have and the caring staff, and how great things happen when people work together. We always talk about the power of us, and you all are going to love this story. And you know, your superintendent, he can get choked up sometimes pretty easily, and I'm going to try to make it through this letter. This is from Miss Lloyd to the leadership team. Good morning. I wanted to share this story with each of you. We have a 504 student who is a virtual learner. My 504 coordinator, Sandra Fountain, reached out to the mom to offer support since the child was not active on Schoology. Mom shared that she is legally blind and unable to help the child, but was receiving support from the aunt. Ms. Fountain, the 504 coordinator, decided to see if she could help further. So she contacted our district vision specialist, who happens to be Ms. Tiffany Moore. While they both knew the parent couldn't receive district services, they contacted World Services for the Blind. An unbelievable response then occurred. World Services has offered mom a scholarship to come in 3 times per week. They are going to provide Schoology support and technical assistance for the mom, which ultimately will impact that child as well. This is literally the power of us. I'm so grateful for Ms. Fountain and Ms. Moore, as well as World Services, for helping support a family. And I just thought that was a great way to end it with, as our principals are undoubtedly going to log off, I just wanted to admit that exemplifies the power of us and how a community really comes together to wrap around and support a family. And so, Anna, thank you for sharing that story. And board members, thank you for giving me a little latitude and going a little bit off script of where we normally would be. And I'm going to jump right into the other celebrations. Members of the Community Advisory Board, we've got some wonderful things to celebrate, and we're going to begin right off the bat with academics. And so as the screen gets adjusted, you'll see that Central and Parkview have a number of national merit semifinalists, excuse me. And these young people, I want you to take just a look at all the names. My guess is that as people are watching, they'll recognize a name and then want to reach out and tell the family members, you know, how proud they are. Or in the case of our elementary principals, or even someone else on the staff may be looking and saying, I helped teach that person. So we all ought to take pride in it, because this is kind of one of those culminating things that really shows just greatness of not only the kid, the family, but then of the school system. And so we're very proud of our national merit semifinalists. Next, I want to also say that we're working on getting ready. We're not going to back off of college night. I know that Dr. Barth is on the thing tonight. We hope he'll help us promote this event. We've always held a college night. We've always opened up the college night to everybody in the entire city. We've never not allowed private or charter school or homeschool kids to attend. And the same is true. Ms. Grayson, the head of our counseling, has worked tirelessly to put together a virtual college night. And so this is on our website. It's actually a 30-page guide to allow families and students to better access college options. And I'm very proud that our team continues to find ways to work around not being able to gather in person. Thank you, Ms. Grayson. Next, we had a wonderful event with the Graduation Alliance. This was a partnership, members of the CAB, that you signed off on last spring to move us forward with trying to recover students that we've lost. And we had, this happened at the mall. And so I want to first off give a gentleman credit that really helped us in that regard, by the name of Nathan Damp. Nathan's in the back there in an orange shirt. He is actually the person that is the kind of the CEO of the mall. But you can see we have Captain Finks and Fitzhill and Cherise Dean. Fitzhill and Cherise Dean are members of the State Board of Education. They're our Little Rock members, and they were there. We had Miss Grayson, who's up in front, who also leading the college tour. You can see that we had Representative Innit, and then Miguel Lopez is up behind her on one shoulder, and Greg Hart from the Graduation Alliance was there. Now, we all made calls that day, actual calls to young people to say, hey, we want to get you re-engaged. We know that right now we don't have you in a system. We found a lot of calls ended up nowhere. We had bad numbers. But that's one of the things the Graduation Alliance does, is they do not quit even when there's a bad number. They work through social media channels to go and track those young people down. We were able to get through on numerous calls, and sometimes I got to hear a story of a middle school situation where a parent had left us to go to a charter school and was very dissatisfied. But it was informative, and parents appreciated getting to talk to me. We had another situation where a mother who is Spanish speaking answer the phone. We quickly got Miguel over to answer the call. He ended up talking to the mom, and the mom goes, I can't get her convinced to be a part of it. And so Miguel said, well, do you have her cell number? And the mom said, I do. Miguel called that parent. Guess what? That kid's now enrolled. At this current time, after about 2 weeks worth of work, we have 11 students re-enrolled that we previously did not, that were totally dropped out. And we have 12 more students that we're working on pending. So this is already paying dividends, not only in the fact of helping us obviously with the graduation rate, that is important, but more importantly, of getting kids connected back into the school system so that they get their high school diploma, which is about $500,000 in their lifetime of an economic benefit if they have that diploma versus not having it. And it also takes away a lot of things that end up falling back on the state and city if they're not taken care of. So we're really excited about this effort, and we highlight that as one of our celebrations. Next up, I want to talk about our meal program, and we continue to evolve on the meal program. We had great success, as everyone's kind of aware, over the spring and the summer with the help of the city and the Clinton Center and CALS and the World Kitchen and Rock Region Metro and our fellow districts. But we're not stopping now. We know that we need to help out with our virtual learners. We came up with a new platform that started on September 8th, where families can come in on a Tuesday, and there are 15 campuses where they can come, 14 campuses where they can come pick up food, and then they get to have that food is ready for them to utilize throughout the week. Parents make their calls on Friday to say they need that. We're evaluating this. We did have an uptick in terms of the number of meals served from how this school year started. So we've gradually added more kids, but I can tell you we're not satisfied. We're still evaluating, and we will make tweaks to this as we go, just to make sure we work in a good fashion to go serve families. Please know that the city is also helping us, as well as Arkansas Hunger Relief. And so we will continue to work with them and CALS on this meal delivery. Want to especially call out Stephanie Walker-Hines, who's been our key person who has helped coordinate, and she has taken things to a whole new level. I also will share that I've walked through multiple kitchens. On every school visit, I go to the kitchen, I go to a severe needs classroom, and then I go to classrooms just in general. But when I go to the kitchens, I am seeing the most sanitized environment that you can possibly expect, and people really doing a great job with their packaging of meals of grab and go for both in the classroom and in the virtual environment. Our next thing that we want to highlight, again, there's another theme here of connections and partnership, and Dr. Barth is a part of this one as well, that we worked with Dr. Barth and went to the Dolly Parton one. Did we? Nope, I'm sorry, that's right. I'm off on my line. Dolly Parton is a partnership that the city is involved with, but so is the Chamber of Commerce. The county judge, Judge Hyde, has been of help. And of course, all the county schools have contributed. Board members, you might remember we had Clark Tucker come in and give a presentation to us this summer about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We celebrated the kickoff. I had a good time because I ended up throwing my arm around Dolly Parton, so it looked like I had a date at this press conference, even though she wasn't there. This is just a reminder, this is an opportunity for every family that has a newborn all the way up to age 5 that they can get a book each and every month through the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. The multiple partners help make it all possible. We appreciate Clark Tucker's leadership for moving this partnership forward and keeping it going. And we had a great press conference to kick this off. Appreciate Esther Jones, leads our pre-K department, for what she did. And of course, we had families get up and talk at this, and you just love the pictures of those kids looking at their books that they just got. Think about this, that there are book deserts out there. We talk about food deserts, there are book deserts too. And so getting a book each and every month is just huge in terms of helping kids get a passion about reading and improving their literacy skills. Next, again, another theme, bringing back the city one more time with an announcement by our mayor, and with the help of Dr. Barth and Chamber of Commerce, James Reddish was there. these gentlemen, along with the school district, worked to get greater availability for hotspots and broadband. Now, it wasn't just in devices and tools, it was also cutting down the cost. Last spring, when we were in the first phase of trying to deal with the pandemic, the cost for a hotspot was almost $50. As a result of working together with the city, the chamber, and I also will say the superintendent of Fort Smith School District was instrumental in helping us, Doug Brubaker, that all those folks working together, we worked with all the business entities, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, all those companies came forward with different pricing structures. And now we've got hotspots that cost less than $20. So a significant price decrease, which then allowed us to partner with the city. With the city, we have a partnership where we've worked together to purchase 1,000 hotspots just with the city and Little Rock School District. In addition, Little Rock School District has purchased another 2,000. And then as a reminder, the governor also came forward with 500 hotspots, which actually have already arrived in the district, and we've been using and deploying those. So we've got hotspots out there. In addition, you'll see that Nate Coulter is in the middle of this. We also announced a new partnership for tutoring with math tutoring that happens at CALS. Again, Dr. Barth was instrumental in helping get us a grant through the Walton Family Foundation that provides tutoring support. And we're excited about that will happen at the CALS libraries for our students to come and access in the evenings to get additional help and support on the math. Next is at this same press conference, the University Medical Center also came out with a new partnership that is about connecting, and really it's about mental health. And we know that in the challenge of a pandemic, as well as the challenge of racial tensions, that many people end up having anxiety or having some challenges. And the University Medical Center came forward with something called AR Connect. The access to this is on our website. No one should feel isolated. People do need to get support. There is support right here in our own community. And we very much appreciate Chancellor Cam Patterson for coming forward with this program. And we've got that on our website. Next, we've talked about Hall, and we're getting ready to continue to it. I got to do a tour of Hall, I think a little over a week ago. I was so excited as I walked through there. This is one of the new labs. We've got all sorts of new technology. This is the lab that actually represents esports. Hall will have its first esports team. The kids are eating it up. And I want to give credit to the teacher, Anthony Wood, of course, Dr. Roberts, and then Joel Spencer. Hall has a different energy, a different feel as you walk through it. We've got work to do, but there's really some amazing things happening on that campus. I want to give a shout out to Stephen Helmick. Get this, he is ranked, was in the top 4 for the Kids Heart Challenge, which is tied to the American Heart Association. You can see that one of his efforts was to get slimed. I will tell you, the superintendent got slimed with him. It ruined a pair of shoes for me, and I had to dry clean on a suit like 3 times to get it back to normal. But we had a ball up there. Mr. Helmick will do anything to get his kids excited to raise money and support a good cause. And he just is amazing in terms of what he gets accomplished day in and day out at that school to help get the kids fired up. And he's a true leader. He was in top 4 for the entire nation under this American Heart Challenge. Next, we have one just highlight, and this is going to be a quick hitter because Dr. Owa is also going to cover this support. This will be on our website. Dr. Owa covered even more depth of after school support, but highlighting the fact that we are constantly thinking of ways that we can connect during this time to support parents and students and staff. Next slide, please, is the dads matter. We really appreciate the contest that took place. Dads always take pictures that entire first week. A lot of times previously it was physically them coming to the school. This time it could be in a virtual environment, or it could be at school, or it could be, we had great liberty with it. We are going to follow up now with those dads, and we have 25 that will be awarded prizes, and we're going to do a drive-by lunch for them, not this Friday, but next Friday, where they'll drive through our parking lot As they come in, we'll hand them a lunch and thank them and just give them a little bit of a pat on the back for being such involved parents. And we appreciate that father figure in our kids' lives. We also want to give special thanks to Academy Sports for supporting us this week with kind of a CACHO Award is what we called it. We went to Baseline Elementary, Central. We also went to Pinnacle and Jefferson, and got to recognize Miss Delaney. Over 40 years of being a teacher. She's been at Baseline for 6 years, and she said she just couldn't quit this year because of the pandemic, and she didn't want to let her kids down or let her staff down. She was truly touched, got emotional when she won the award. We got to Central High, and we got to recognize Kim Williams, he's the lead counselor at Central. Ms. Rousseau would be upset if I didn't mention it was also her student. She taught him in 9th grade English back in the day. Mr. Williams is an outstanding individual. The thing that I most appreciated was his interview on Fox TV where he said, I am this community. The kids are me, and I am the kids. I am the person that represents them, and they represent who I am as well. I love the fact of how he's still tied right back into this community. We went up to see Pinnacle View of Christy Ward, who's a science teacher. She has found ways last spring and this fall, even though science seems to be very hands-on, guess what? She found ways to take science, not only virtually, but to bring it to kids. She personally would make deliveries to their houses so that they could do science experiments. Just a very, very cool lady. In her class, when you got middle school kids fired up about what you're doing and excited about the teacher, you know you're doing something special. And then our final drop-off was for Keisha Dunn, who is a custodian at Jefferson Elementary. And we did this in front of the kindergarten class, and boy, she got super emotional about it because this was a neat recognition for her. And she just, every part of that school, that is her, it's what she does. She shows up super early in the morning and just gives everything to that school. And I know Ms. Register feels blessed to have her in the school. We also know that grandparents is coming right around the corner. And did I miss one here, Ms. Smith?
Oh my goodness, thank you so
Oh, this is the actual interview. Sorry about that.
In this time of COVID-19, we enjoy opportunities to bring you good news. Today, 4 teachers in the Little Rock School District got quite a shock. They were surprised during school hours and presented with a $500 gift certificate from Academy Sports. As Mandy Knoll shows us, it's to honor workers who go above and beyond.
The surprises got underway at 8 this morning at Baseline Elementary.
With a $500 gift card.
Oh my gosh!
And thank you so much for going above and beyond for
your teacher is being looked at as one of the best in the whole district in terms of finding ways to support you and other teachers.
Annette Daly almost retired this year.
There's such wonderful administration here, and the culture of Baseline is so much like family, and I didn't feel that I was ready to give that up. And I love the students and their parents. This is my 6th year at Baseline, so I just wasn't ready to leave.
Each of the 4 winners was nominated by coworkers, presented $500 from Academy Sports. From Baseline, a group of school administrators joined by Superintendent Mike Poore went over to Central High School. The lucky victim this time, lead school counselor Kim Williams.
Good morning, everybody. Need your attention just for a few seconds here. We have some very special announcement. This is called the CACHO Award. And guess what? We're about ready to catch this young man, Mr. Williams. Let's give him a hand.
Williams actually graduated from Central High School.
On any given day, you can catch me wearing a number of hats, whether it be father, big brother, uncle, facilitator, teacher, counselor, college mentor, scholarship advisor. I mean, counselors do a little bit of everything.
Williams says he needs a little more time to process the award and decide how to spend it, but his daughter will probably help him. With the surprises halfway through, the group moved over to Pinnacle View Middle School to drop in on teacher Christy Ward.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
Ward spent quarantine reaching out to students and parents and delivering science supplies.
When they asked you, we have a teacher that had been above and beyond the call of duty, we thought of Miss Ward and her way she's been connecting with her kids ever since the quarantine. So
She's already planning how to use her prize for her students.
Probably use some of it in class because it's hard right now to figure out, what we can do that's still hands-on in this setting, and then also do with our virtual kids.
And her 15-year-old daughter might get a surprise too. For the fourth and final stop of the day, the group went over to Jefferson Elementary. That's where we find lead custodian Keisha Dunn, who had no idea this was her party.
We know what you do, how much you care about this place. $500 gift certificate.
It's going to help out a whole long way, and I appreciate that because, it came right on time. I jump in and help out as much as I can. I interact with kids, just being there, talking to them, supporting them, and also keeping this building clean, campus clean, yard clean.
A day of good surprises, the kind that keep giving. In Little Rock, I'm Mandy Noel.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And we're almost there, board members. Just want to highlight, we also are going to be working still on Grandparents' Day. We love that opportunity to, so many of our families have grandparents really connected in helping raise young people. So we have that showing up, and we'll have this on our website of how grandparents can participate and get their photos in. And we appreciate Pam Smith always for putting those together. Reminder that the 63rd anniversary commemorating the integration of Central High is coming up. There's all sorts of wonderful events that the Park Service has put forward. I will share that Laura Arnold, who is our coordinator of social studies and works with the literacy group too, has come up with all sorts of connections and resources to share out with our students that they can take advantage of the activities that are planned. But what a wonderful time to think about that group of people, those amazing people that were the Little Rock Nine. And then National Hispanic Month, Heritage Month is occurring. It started this week and goes now for the next month. And so there'll be all sorts of wonderful things. Again, for anybody watching on TV, please follow our website, and Ms. Smith will continue to share out things. Finally, we don't want to lose sight of the fact that the census is drawing to a close the end of this month unless something changes. We want to do everything we can to get everyone to make sure that they complete the census. It is not a hard process, and it will end up.
Excuse me, can we interrupt you?
Wow. Hey, Mike. Hey, how you doing, sir? What's going on, Mike?
Wow. Just sit there. So, Ms. Fox, members of the board, thank you for letting us disrupt your meeting real quickly. I'm Richard Abernathy. I'm Executive Director of AAEA. I have several people who I'd like to introduce themselves as we go around the room that are coming here to present a special award. So,
I'm Benny Weston, Superintendent of MENA. Rick Murray, Conway, Superintendent.
Matt McClure, Cross County.
Sean Cook, Superintendent of Lakeside.
Mike Hernandez, AAEA. Mike Merton, AAEA.
Andrew Talbot, retired Superintendent Moore.
John Collins, Superintendent, West Memphis.
Ivy Thetford, Department of Education.
Stacy Smith, Department of Education.
And Mary Ann Ford, wife of Mike Ford. Congratulations.
So AAEA work with school administrators and school superintendents all across the state of Arkansas. And one of the best part of our job is to go around and recognize the quality work that people do. So your very own, Mr. Poor, has been selected for the 2021 Arkansas Superintendent of the Year. Other gentlemen and ladies, they are former superintendents of the year, and so they have represented Arkansas in the past. Mr. Poor will be representing Arkansas. It would have been in our national conference in New Orleans. That has moved to a virtual conference. But we're still going to do something for you at the national level. But he will be representing Arkansas for the entire school year. So one of the things that this is actually it's a competitive award, so people can nominate superintendents of the year or superintendents that they feel would be deserving. And this year we have a rather large pool of superintendents. They have to go in and fill out, complete a rubric. The rubric is based off of leadership skills, community skills, and in multiple different areas. And then that is scored. It's based off of the work they do in Arkansas as well as nationally. And Mr. Ford, you landed up on top this year. So some of the things that you know, he came to Arkansas in 2011. And the reason I know that is because we were going to a national conference in 2011, and he accepted the job in Bentonville. And he calls me, introduces himself, and said, "Hey," said, "I want to get involved in Arkansas." And said, "Well, we have an Arkansas dinner at our conference, so I invited him to that." And he shows up. He doesn't know anybody, but he shows up at the conference, and he's been involved and engaged in Arkansas schools ever since. Of course, moved down here in 2016. Your application, your resume speaks for itself. But I've really enjoyed watching you in Bentonville as well as here on some of the things that you do, because you're passionate about kids. Anybody that's going to set up on a rooftop trying to raise money for kids and do things, bringing in the one book, one district deal to Little Rock schools. I can just go on down the list of things that I've watched you do in Bentonville as well as Little Rock, and you're top notch. And I'm proud that you're the Arkansas Superintendent of the Year this year. Arkansas Superintendent of the Year 2021, Michael Ford, Superintendent of Little Rock School District, in appreciation for your distinguished service to administrators in Arkansas and in recognition of exemplary leadership as Superintendent of Little Rock School District, presented by the Arkansas Association of Educational Administrators. Congratulations, my friend. There you go, hold that.
That's probably good to hold on to something right now. First off, I want to thank all of you for making time to come here and to see, you know, all of you here. I mean, it's just something. You know, and I respect this group of men and women that are here, and my partners with the Department of Education Commissioner and Ivy and Stacy and Mike was for a while too, of working together. It's so important to me to have that kind of support. But I also want to thank Richard, who, like he said, I called him right off the bat. As some of you know, as I came into Little Rock, I did that same thing. I just started calling people. You know, I kind of forced myself on you, and it always seems to kind of work, I guess. But there's so many people on our Zoom right now that are my staff here at Little Rock School District that I want to thank, because they work so tirelessly, and we have fun while we're doing it. And I think that's what allows us to kind of work tirelessly. There's a whole school district here that have elevated and done some pretty amazing things over the last 5 years. And I'm grateful for everybody in this Little Rock community. But I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm also grateful for the folks in Bentonville, the folks in Colorado Springs School District 11, and a little tiny dot inside of Denver, Colorado called Sheridan School District. Every single person that I end up meeting, I seem to take something from that allows me hopefully to be a little bit better as a leader and as a person. And I've had a really rich life on that. And finally, I'll just say that I want to thank, well, I have two finals. I want to thank the boards that I've got to work with, the Community Advisory Board. I appreciate each of you, sometimes in a very thankless position as a Community Advisory Board member. Thank you for what you've done to support me. And some of those that aren't on the screen right now, I'll have to reach out to. I want to thank the Bentonville board and the boards up in Colorado too. I want to thank my wife and my family who, as my final comment, just of how they've always found a way, and how my blonde bombshell over here found a way to keep this a surprise from me. I have no idea, because she's terrible at keeping secrets, and so I can't believe this happened. And but this is just, man, thank you so very, very much, and I appreciate you all making this happen during this meeting.
You blame your wife and Jasmine and Pam, because they're the ones that kept the secret from you. So. But if you don't mind, Ms. Fox, if we get a few pictures, then we will get out of here and you can continue on. But I have orders to get certain pictures of you, so
Okay.
I just, I got to do my job too.
Okay.
You all go right ahead. Congratulations, Mr. Poor.
Well, thank you. Hope y'all gather in here and.
Yeah.
Everybody catch themselves smiling.
No, exactly.
Gonna take one class goal.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't do that. It'd be criticized, right? Yeah.
Help the council.
And I do have orders every year to get a picture of you by yourself holding the flag.
Okay.
So we gotta use that multiple times.
Okay, and I'll turn this meeting over to Dr. Owa, since that's why we hired him. You take over, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Will do.
Okay, and then I'll jump back and join you in a minute.
Mike, Mike,
Yes.
do we have any community comments?
We do not tonight.
Okay, great. You go do what you do, and we'll work with Dr. Owa.
Okay.
Dr. Owa, I'm going to turn the next part of the agenda over to you, and that's the, I think we're going to have the PPC reports next.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Dr. Owa. Let's start with Ms. Austin, and then we'll go to Ms. Eason. Does Ms. Austin have a report tonight?
Yes, I do.
Oh, there you are.
Let me adjust my volume. I'm still working.
You're still working. Bless your heart.
Yes, I'm actually teaching teachers, staff, and students how to use Schoology, our new program. All right, so I do have a report. Last month for our PPC meeting, it mainly was just a Q&A for our administrators because it was right at the start of school. And so we had questions about how to maneuver through Schoology, and there were lots of questions in regards to COVID-18. And so our meeting is actually the third Mondays of the month. And so we will approve our minutes on Monday, and then again, they'll be uploaded to our website. The biggest thing that we actually have going on right now is we had 12 schools that are going to need PPC representation. I just received 2 resignations today for 2 schools. So 4 schools I was actually able to send ballots out for, and they will join us for Roman, Southwest High, Western Hills, and Williams. There were 4 schools that I sent an invite inviting those certified staff to apply for being a PPC. 4 schools I've never heard anything back from. So I will be, let me adjust my volume just one moment.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So I'm not sure what's going on with your course.
All right, thank you. So 4 schools never heard anything from, so I'll resend out another invite there. Again, 2 schools decided that, you know, they were retiring and resigning. And so we're just trying to get those spots filled so that we can have representation for each school. Also, our meeting on Monday, we do have questions and answers for administration. And so I'm actually going to be sending those questions out to them today. Again, I think one of our biggest things is the face-to-face and the virtual teaching at the same time. It's very exhausting. We are tired at the end of the day from having to teach virtually and then the class. And it also creates a lot of unneeded downtime because you may have to do something virtually with a student and then you have the entire class just sitting there and kind of waiting. So it has been some adjustments for a lot of us. So we're going to just kind of talk about on Monday, you know, maybe we need to think about having virtual teachers for the virtual students, because it is kind of hard to do both of those things. And I've been just kind of getting a few reports that, you know, students are those who were virtual are now wanting to go face to face. So it's creating an increase in students in the classrooms. And so we're all trying to keep our classrooms within that 6 feet distance of each other. So if they're face to face, we can only hold just so many students. So that was another one of our concerns. And so I know Attorney Eric Walker will talk about Section 3, the licensed personnel. I just sent that document out earlier during the week to the PPC. So we really haven't had time to officially look at it, but I've looked at it and I just kind of noticed that there was a portion in there on bullying and sexual harassment. That looked fine. And I saw where there was a section added on 3.47 in regards to students who may have an IEP or a 504 and how to handle their situation if it arises in being removed from the classroom. And so I didn't see anything that may have been pressing on our end, but we have not officially talked about it in our meeting. So we'll just kind of chit chat about it on Monday. But other than that, I'm just really trying to get the seats filled for those schools who don't have PPC representation. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Ms. Austin. I have some questions I was going to ask Dr. Owa about the face-to-face virtual switching back and forth. So if you can stay on, maybe we can learn something together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Easton, do you have a report this evening?
Good evening. I do have a short report for everyone. Had some great celebrations this evening, and I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Poor, a well-deserved award. So congratulations to him. I do want everyone to know that the classified PPC has worked very diligently to get our committee together to review the Section 8 policies that are on the agenda tonight. I believe it is an action item for the second reading, and we were able to eventually have a meeting where we had enough members to unanimously approve Section 8. So that is on the agenda, and it does have the approval of the classified committee. I do want to also state that the classified personnel policy committee, like the certified personnel policy committee, has had some trouble with members being present. We have 8 total employee group representatives within the classified personnel policy committee. We have had a current vacancy in our transportation department. So we've been working to fill that vacancy. We also have reached out to our custodial and our child nutrition groups due to lack of attendance, and those 2 members have stated that they are no longer able to serve on the committee. So we are currently now working on filling 3 of the 8 total employee group representatives. So that has been a challenge. We've also reached out personally to Ms. Austin in the certified PPC, and we will be inviting her to our next PPC meeting on October 7th, because I know that committee has worked diligently on their bylaws, and that is our next major task with the classified PPC. Trying to make sure I am not forgetting something to share with you guys. I believe that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Eason. Ms. Austin, Ms. Eason, and Dr. Owa, when we first started doing the PPC, I know that it was determined that we wanted someone from every building to service the PPC, but quite frankly, I think Anthony Hampton, who was a former CAB member, had a great idea, and that was to have representatives from zones. And the reason we wanted everybody from the different schools is so there would be a vast representation. But I think if you go to the 9 CAB zones maybe and pull from there at the various schools, that's something y'all should look into if you're having a hard time fulfilling all of these seats. And it can be a decision that your individual groups can make. So just food for thought on that.
Mrs. Fox, I think you're still on mute.
I'm so sorry. Did y'all hear anything I said?
Well, we heard everything about the number.
Okay, of PPC. All right. So now we're moving on to Dr. Barth, who's going to give us an update on the community schools.
Great, thank you. And it's been a number of months, obviously, since I've had a chance to update the CAB on where we are with community schools, but a lot of work has been going on. Obviously, COVID delayed us just a bit. We anticipated being further along in the spring, and we had to delay some of our work forward, moving forward until the summer. But we will be announcing the first four community schools to be selected next week. We produced the video today, and the members of the CAB will be the first to get that probably next Tuesday afternoon, it's looking like. So y'all will get that video that will announce those four schools. I want to thank Mr. Darian Smith, who's just been a great partner in this work as we have worked to identify those schools, worked with building leaders to feel that they feel good about this process, et cetera. We are also in the midst of interviewing community school coordinators, and we are now moving to the second round of interviews there. We had 30 applicants for those four slots, which was great. And I think we feel good about that process, but we are moving forward on that front as well. Of course, the district is covering the costs of those positions, and the city, of course, partnering in some other ways. Also, some very good news. We have a national foundation very interested in community school work that has come in through Forward Arkansas to fund a variety of our startup costs related to the training of those community school coordinators in best practices work, especially around the crucially important piece of needs assessment, of really identifying, they're hearing the voices of parents and students and teachers and community members, what the needs of those community schools are, which will, of course, guide all of our decisions about programming, whether it's in wraparound services, out-of-school learning experiences, or community opportunities that would be available at the school as a hub for that, for those neighborhoods. And so our work is underway, and just wanted to do a quick update and see if anybody had any questions at this stage of the process.
CAB members, do you all have any questions? Mr. Porter, do you have anything to add? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I just couldn't get to mute quick enough. And obviously this community school model fits so well into many things that we're already doing, but it's going to fill in our gaps, and appreciate all the work that Dr. Barth is doing with Darian Smith. I don't know if he got to mention that. I missed the first part of the presentation, but Darian has been with him just side by side as they've done this work together, and appreciate that. And it's exciting that we're so close to really doing real work that will fill in some of those gaps in places that need it the most.
Great. And congratulations, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Barth.
All right. Thanks, Melanie. Bye-bye.
All right, now we're moving on to the update on Ready for Learning.
I'll just introduce the topic, Ms. Fox, and then turn it over to Dr. Owa. You know, I'm very proud of the start of the year, and we've had a number of meetings with both PTAs and with our staff, with all of our senior leadership attending those meetings. And one of the things that has struck me, and I won't give away all the rest of the presentation, but you know, we've had such great collaboration. I mean, people have worked together in such great ways, clear back since the end of the school year. Ms. Worsham has helped with bringing together all sorts of educators, establishing essential standards, and then moving forward with Schoology and having folks engaged in that and helping train and creating ambassador level things. We've had parents who've been such wonderful partners. not only in telling us, hey, this doesn't make sense, I need help, but also parents helping us with really making mask work. Because I think we got to give parents more credit than anyone else on that. I know our staff has done a good job, but parents have helped us with masks in terms of not only the logistics of getting masks to kids, but then also having them understand the mentality of why we need to wear masks. And so I give parents a tremendous amount of credit for how our school year started. We've had some bumps, we're gonna have bumps, but we're working through them. And this Ready for Learn plan really helps us kind of connect the dots. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Owa.
Thank you, Superintendent Ford. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's Ready for Learning plan is going to be divided in about 4 sections. First, I will cover the new components or the updated components of the plan, and then we'll talk about the reading interventions, the literacy interventions, and then our current COVID updates or numbers, and then ending with some other highlights as they relate to the Ready for Learning plan. But I wanted to just remind everyone that our Ready for Learning plan, we update the plan weekly, it seems. The schools update their Ready for Learning plan as new guidance is received as well. So we've updated the glossary of terms so that we're all on the same page when it comes to terminology. We've updated the point of contact process. The school level plans are linked inside the district Ready for Learning plan. We've also updated the health protocol as we receive the new updated guidance, as well as the updated appendix with the mask protocols and resources. We've added clarification for point of contact procedures, the process for principals and assistant principals. We've also updated or developed a custodian cleaning and disinfecting checklist aligned with the guidance that's listed in our Ready for Learning plan, which is also aligned with the guidance from the Arkansas Department of Health. We felt that it was necessary to have a district-wide checklist and expectations that principals can inspect as well as guide our custodial staff in ensuring that we are following the daily and weekly cleaning and disinfecting process. We've also updated the plan with the Arkansas Center for Health Improvement website, which gives school district level COVID-19 data. And so parents are able to either visit our district website for COVID-19 notifications, or they can visit the Arkansas Center for Health Improvement website. And when we conclude, this PowerPoint will be shared with our CAB members, and all of these blue links are active, and so you will have access to that information. I'll pause to see if there are any questions about this information before we lead into the reading interventions.
Dr. Owa?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a new update that's coming out on the Ready for Learning plan?
Yes, actually, we are waiting on one more update. Everything is already included in the update for that's in the version that's on the district website. The glossary of terms, point of contact process, the school level plans, as well as the health protocol and mask protocol. The new information that will be uploaded tomorrow will include, the new version will include the clarification for point of contact, the custodian cleaning, disinfecting checklist.
That's what I have a question about.
Okay, yeah, that will, the principals have already received that. The custodian staff have received, they received it last week in their leadership weekly digest. And so this information will now be included in the updated Ready for Learning plan tomorrow evening.
And does that address when they fog the schools, or
yes,
how often, or stuff in that document?
Yes. Can you see the document?
Yes.
Okay. So you'll see a daily task, of course, the date in the building, the entryway, common areas, requirements, and Kevin Yarberry, our Director of Maintenance, assisted with this to ensure that this checklist was in line with what we stated in our Ready for Learning plan, and also the expectation and the training, the expectations that were set in the training that the custodial staff received.
That's
So
great.
entryways, classrooms, restrooms, the expectations for office space, and then the common work areas, the cafeterias, and then the other common touch points. And you'll see the last item on here is the utilization of the electrostatic sprayer, and the expectations at least 3 times a week, and then how they should wait before wiping the surface. Now, if there's any issues with a positive case or any quarantine needs, then of course the team will go in, Kevin's team will go in and assist the custodial staff to immediately disinfect and clean that building.
Great, I appreciate that. That was one of my concerns. I'm glad you have a detailed list there now, so that everybody's on the same page. So thank you very much for that. Any other board members have questions about this part so far? All right, Dr. Owa, if you want to continue.
You all see the PowerPoint again?
Yes, we can, Dr. Owa.
Okay. Mrs. Hope Worsham is going to cover the curriculum and instruction supports that also include the reading and intervention. Ms. Worsham.
Good evening, Hope Worsham, Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and we wanted to update the community on some of the supports that are being offered across the district now from the C&I team, especially in light of all the work that teachers are doing right now. We know, and I do just want to give a shout out to our teachers. I know it's overwhelming right now, and we're seeing collaboration across buildings, collaboration with district teams, and teachers coming together to support students. And so big shout out to them and all that they're doing right now under some unsurmountable circumstances in some cases. So in order to help better support buildings, one of the things that we've done with the C&I team is to structure a tiered system of support between the executive directors, the directors, and those that are members of the C&I team. So those would be lead teachers in all the content areas, as well as our multi-site facilitators for math and for literacy. And so what we've done is set some protocols that those the groups of people have been split up into teams. Each building has been identified as needing tier 1, 2, or 3 support. And the determination for those tiers was based on lots of different data. So in some cases, it was a new principal who either we felt like or had indicated they wanted some extra support. We also looked at previous assessment data, both NWA and our previous ACT Aspire assessment data, and other factors that we knew were going on in the building, such as the number of programs that were new in that building, and making sure that we provided additional support in those particular programs. So the C&I team, all members of the C&I team will be spending at least 4 days a week in buildings. That's going to look different depending on the tier of support that a building is in, but our multi-site facilitators are assigned to tier 3 buildings, which means they can spend their time in those tier 3 buildings really supporting instruction for math and instruction for literacy. They're going to rotate through those buildings. And then the C&I lead teachers will support across tier 2 and tier 3 buildings with supporting the coaches in that building, supporting the principals, supporting the teachers. And that may be co-planning, that may be professional development, that may be working, if a building says, hey, we need some support with Schoology, that's where Dr. Taylor or Mr. Roman will provide some support with Schoology, maybe during the day or in whatever time that the building has identified as appropriate there. We also, the executive directors and directors of the various departments will be having meetings with the principal and their guiding coalition. And for our tier 1 schools, that's once per quarter, tier 2 twice per quarter, and tier 3 that's monthly. And those meetings are a time for the principal to sit down with us and we look at data together. We talk about the goals that they have for their building, and then how can the team that's coming in better support. So really having that relationship between the district office and those buildings to make sure that the buildings are getting supported in the way that they need to be. And so whatever that may look like, if the teachers are having roadblocks with getting their lessons, having time, it's just problem solving during that meeting of how can we provide some, free up some time for teachers to do the work that they need to do, or if it's a particular teacher's having struggles with a particular content area, it's making sure that the right people are in that classroom supporting that teacher. We also have made a shift in the way that we're supporting our instructional facilitators. So many buildings did use Title I funds in the elementary school, particularly to hire new instructional facilitators. And so they are coming together for a weekly training and support session with either Miss Sherry Chambers or Miss Jennifer Beasley. And during those times, it's not a meeting, it's a time for those instructional facilitators to co-plan, to co-work together, to have some professional development for them. That's one thing that we were really lacking and missing for our instructional facilitators. They were trying to support teachers, but they were not getting supported. So making sure that we're pouring into that group of people, and that's our multi-site that are at the district level, as well as anybody that's in the building can send representation to those meetings. Our ESOL team has actually, we have our 4 people at the district level on the ESOL team right now, and those people they've split up and made a schedule whereby they're going to be available online to support our virtual level 1 and level 2 ESOL learners. So those are our students who speak the least amount of English, and our district team is going to be supporting those students directly during the school day with their Schoology lessons. They're going to be partnering with the buildings to make sure that our district team is supporting what the teacher's doing in the classroom. We shared that plan with our buildings last week and got good feedback on that and made a few changes because of it, but that's going to really help our level 1 and level 2 students who are at home, virtual students, to have that direct support during the week. And that team is also going to be filtering into buildings to support our buildings that have high ESL populations. GT support, the way that that's going to look is really directly supporting our buildings that have new GT coordinators and making sure that they are directly supported by Ms. Shinneval. And then we did receive a literacy grant from the Department of Education. It was about $2 million. It's allowing us to purchase more core text, also make books available digitally for our students. So Miss Linda Young has helped us with that grant, and Linda O'Neill and Miss Sherry Chambers have worked very hard to find all of our core text, as many of them as we possibly can, find those in a digital version and make those available to our students. So that's one thing they're working on now. For Schoology, we know that that's still a very new thing for our teachers. And, you know, right now we're in the phase of just learning the tool, and the frustration of learning the tool in the middle of a pandemic can be very overwhelming for people. So and one of the things that our team has not done as well as we would like to have is communication to teachers. And so we know that's an area that we have to be better at as far as the district support for our Schoology ambassadors. Each building does have 3 or more Schoology ambassadors that were trained, and that team now needs to be supported to better help our teachers. And so the things that we've been doing, some parent text support sessions. We had over 200 parents have attended those text support sessions, and that's literally just some of our ambassadors are online and available every night. And that's just been this week that we've had about, I believe it's 180, I was trying to look at my number, parents join those sessions and just get help directly from an ambassador. We've also got Tech Time PD sessions. We've had over 400 teachers attend. Those are little 1-hour mini sessions where teachers can jump on and learn either a new tech tool, or if they're having trouble. This month is all about pieces of Schoology. So we took the main things that teachers are going to have to do in Schoology and broke those up into little 1-hour sessions. And so teachers have been attending those. We also rearranged some money within our PD budget so that we can pay stipends for any teacher. You can either get a stipend or professional development credit for attending any professional development after school. And so we've rearranged some money to be able to pay stipends for any teacher that attends those and does not want the professional development credit. We started last week highlighting teachers. We actually have some teachers that they're getting on Zoom and they're sharing with other teachers, showing their Schoology classroom, talking about best tips, sharing how Schoology is working for them and how they are managing the virtual environment and the in-person environment. We had 10 teachers last week and about 10 today. And so that's one thing that we're going to continue to promote and hopefully be able to continue to highlight teachers that are managing that and promote that sense of collaboration across the district. So like I said before, go ahead.
Those videos, are we recording those videos?
We are recording those videos, and we'll make those available on some way. We have not done that yet, but we do have them recorded, yes. And then our Schoology ambassadors, one thing that we've heard very clearly from them is they need some additional support. We have had a little bit of bumpiness trying to get down the communication and getting communication into one place. And so the team is now, Miss Jennifer Beasley is leading that kind of the group that's going to support the Schoology ambassadors, and they have come up with a communication plan, one place to communicate, both for ambassadors to put questions in, and then also for our team to answer back. Those communications will be made available to teachers as well in the form of a live Google Doc. So it's, you know, things like, how do I do this inside of Schoology, almost like an FAQ document to have available and live all the time. As well as the C&I team is going to start having direct communication to our teachers in the form of a weekly newsletter. That's one thing we have not done very well, and we feel like it's important that teachers get direct communication in their content area, and so that's one thing that we're going to coordinate that so that teachers are getting direct communication from the C&I team on the things that we know are important to them and that they need to know about. We're also going to offer professional development on the virtual days. We do have a virtual day coming up next Wednesday where teachers will be on campus. That's time for them to work collaboratively to build lessons. And so the C&I team is going to offer some space for district across building collaboration. Those are completely optional, the professional development that's offered there, but we are going to provide that space. So if there's a singleton in a building, they don't have to be alone, that they have someone else to co-plan with on those days. And that also goes with the collaboration there. We're also going to offer professional development on those virtual days for Schoology, for lots of, learning in the online environment. Again, completely optional because that day is for teachers to use to plan and to be prepared for lessons.
And I'll pause because I know that there were some questions about Schoology. So before we transition to the reading interventions, Mrs. Fox, do you want to ask any questions, or Ms. Austin?
Well, my questions mainly revolve around, and I talked to Mr. Poor about this, is the virtual and the face-to-face and moving back and forth. So what I'm hearing is a lot of students that are in the secondary or in high school are now choosing virtual midstream, and elementary is struggling with the instruction time on virtual, and so they're wanting to go back to face-to-face. So my question is how are you all handling that, and if that's the case district-wide?
So in our Ready for Learning plan, we indicated that the time outside of extenuating circumstances, the time to transition would be at the end of the quarters. So first quarter, second quarter. So that before that, the end of the quarter, parents, guardians can complete the change of learning option form and submit that to the principal, so that the principals and teachers are able to prepare for that transition at the end of the quarter. I know it was, there was some concern about the students who are going from virtual to in-person learning. The district standpoint is that we're going to provide our young people education. And if the parents are opting to come in at the end of the first quarter back to in-person for their students, then we're going to work to put in protocols and procedures to ensure that the safety continues, the safety for our students as well as our staff members. But there is not a cap in the number of students who are eligible to return back to in-person learning. But just as the transition will take place from virtual to in-person, students who are in the in-person learning option can also, at that time, transition from in-person to virtual. Hence the reason why it was important for us to continue to provide professional development to all teachers, all parents, as well as ensure that all students have experience on the platform, so that if we have to pivot because of a positive case, all students and all teachers are prepared to utilize Schoology, but also if a parent or guardian opts at the end of the 9 weeks to pivot their or change the learning environment, students are prepared, parents are prepared, and then teachers have the capacity as well.
So my two more questions. One, Ms. Worsham, you said optional PD during virtual days, and you mentioned next Wednesday is a virtual day.
Yes. So during our last CAB meeting, we did approve, or you guys did approve, a certain number of virtual days for the school, and so next Wednesday is our first one, the 23rd.
And then other concerns that I'm hearing is kind of a repeat of what Ms. Austin said about some teachers are really struggling with doing both face-to-face and virtual, and I assume that you all are checking on them and providing them the resources or working through whatever issues needs to be worked through.
Yes. So, go ahead. I was just going to say, many of our buildings are working through, or they are working through those issues. So we've seen things like shifting around a schedule so that a particular teacher, maybe where they only had 2 or 3 in-person students, the building was able to shift that so that became a full virtual period, so that all their virtual students are scheduled into that period. So we've got some buildings doing that. Also taking advantage of compensating our teachers extra for agreeing to take on students during their planning period, and that's completely at a teacher's, that's an option for a teacher, and they get compensated for that. So our buildings are doing things like that to shift around and to help support. Also, we see some buildings, Mapleville Elementary is a great example where they're really depending on each other and leaning on each other, and so they're co-teaching. So I saw the first grade team there the other day, and one teacher took the math lesson, the other took the literacy lesson, so that it didn't all fall back on one teacher to teach. The other thing that the C&I team has started to support is with inside of Schoology some groups where all the first grade teachers can be a part of this group, and those first grade teachers are sharing resources. So they're sharing videos, they're sharing ideas, they're sharing lessons inside of there, and then a teacher can take that into their own classroom and utilize those. So there's just some ways that teachers are coming together to help support each other.
And Mrs. Fox, that's one of the reasons why Mrs. Worsham and our ambassadors have really started to do the highlights for practices, instructional practices across the district, so that teachers across the district will see what other teachers are doing and get ideas. And we wanted to make sure at the district level that we are supporting the buildings, the principals, the teachers, and not sending down a cookie cutter format. And so we've started to allow, not started, but we've always allowed the principals to meet with their team to develop the best format and option for virtual and in-person learning at the building level, with us supporting them as they do so.
Thank you. Any other CAB members have questions about this segment of the presentation? Mr. Mason, this morning.
I did have a question, if y'all could just provide clarity. I know with online learning, it's different for a lot of kids, and it's kind of hard to actually learn that way. So I'm wondering, how are kids being evaluated to make sure that they are on track with what they need to learn, and how often?
Yep, so the expectations for in-person and virtual learning are not any different. So if a teacher is giving an assessment in their face-to-face class, then that same assessment or a modified version of that assessment should be provided to any virtual students. So same thing with assignments or with content that's being taught. And so students that are virtual should be getting the same content. It may be delivered slightly differently. It may be a modified version of the assessment, but the students should still be getting the same expectation of learning is present for both.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question? All right, Dr. Owa, you want to move on to the next, I guess, Ms. Worsham's presenting.
Yep. So reading intervention is the question we've been asked about. Is that happening in the virtual environment? And yes, it is. Reading intervention, as we all know, is key for our district right now with our students and for our students to be able to read. And so We have administered the initial screening for all K-2 students. I linked into the PowerPoint there the screening chart, so you can see the full gamut of screenings that we do provide for students. And then based on those screenings, based on the initial screenings, we may administer additional screenings for our K-2 students who show a need, and then for our students in 3 through 12 who are experiencing difficulty in those areas there. And so based on that, we were actually able to do that in the spring. We got a little bit cut short with COVID happening, but we were able to screen all of our students and then identify the need for them in their scheduling. So you can go to the next slide, Dr. Oa. So just wanted to remind our whole, everyone that's watching, we do have a tiered system of support for reading intervention. It starts with foundations in our K3 classrooms, and that's part of our core program. All of our students get that. And then those that exhibit a need will receive just words. And in some of our elementary schools, they are doing that building wide because of the percentage of students who are below grade level. And then other buildings, it is on a as needed basis for students who are identified. So you can see that 1,216 students identified could benefit from Tier 2 instruction, and we have recommended the Just Words course for those students. That is district-wide. And then 262 students were identified for needing Tier 3 dyslexia intervention. And so those students in 5th through 12 were recommended to be put into a course for that, to receive Tier 3 dyslexia intervention. Now, at your high school level, students do have the option to opt out of the course because it is a separate course, reading intervention is, and so that is a possibility for your Tier 2 students. But those are the number of students that were recommended for receiving that course on their schedule. And then we do have the Wilson reading system. Those are for our students that are in Tier 3 that have exhibited the largest need for dyslexia intervention. We have 164 teachers across the district that have been trained since 2019. Ms. Carpenter and Ms. Bishop, who is our new dyslexia specialist who has joined Ms. Carpenter this year, they did a training at the beginning of this year for any teacher who needed a refresher on the Wilson reading system. And that is something that we are going to put into our plan on a yearly basis. We know that it's very important that teachers continue to get refreshers, they continue to get support. And that team, Ms. Bishop and Ms. Carpenter, have actually visited, they're in the process of visiting all buildings and visiting all reading teachers to make sure, number one, they have the materials they need, number two, to introduce themselves, and then to identify the teachers that need extra levels of support. And they will be going directly into classrooms, supporting those teachers, co-planning, co-teaching, working with them and making sure they fully understand the Wilson reading system and how to implement that in our classrooms to serve our students. So as of right now, we have 1,722 students currently receiving dyslexia intervention through our Wilson system. So you can see the numbers of identified students from February to September. And this is due to the screening efforts. We were able to identify additional students who needed the additional supports and are now being serviced or were recommended for services across the district. So in our virtual environment, our students are still getting their dyslexia services just like they would in the in-person environment. So for elementary, time should be scheduled for a student to receive their dyslexia intervention, and that may be scheduled at a time outside. So maybe they have their core instruction in the morning, and then they have their dyslexia intervention time in the afternoon, but that is being scheduled by their reading intervention teacher. For secondary, because their interventions are provided in a class period, then that is part of their schedule, and so their teacher will be live streaming with them during that time to provide the supports. One thing, just I wanted to make sure everyone was aware, we did inform teachers that providing a pre-recorded lesson will not meet the requirements of intervention. So that is the one exception to being able to provide a pre-recorded lesson for students in order to make sure our students are truly getting serviced for their interventions. The students have to be offered a time to be live with the teacher to receive that intervention. Now, if a child does not attend, is not unable to attend that time, a recording can be made available for the student to participate if they have to at a later time, or to view that recording and go through the course, the class, the lesson via that recording. So within Schoology, our reading teachers are in Schoology, and they have been connected with their students, and so they are able to pull students into and provide lessons within Schoology. We've also purchased home kits, have been ordered, and so that's the little tiles that kids have to use. It's very important that they have those, that tactile piece of the interventions, and so those are on their way. We ordered them almost a month ago, and we're still waiting for them to get here, but as soon as they get here, those will be in the hands of our virtual students so that those can be used. We've also purchased Lexia through a partnership with the city. We were able to purchase Lexia district-wide for all elementary buildings, and so that that contract is now in place, and our buildings are getting trained on how to use Lexia, so that's a great supplement to literacy instruction, particularly for all students and really for our students that are struggling with markers of dyslexia. So we're very excited that that is going to be available. And one of the things with that program, it's really about usage. And so just we will keep a focus on the data of usage and just help our principals understand that's very important. Our teachers know to incorporate that as part of their program. And then lastly, because of feedback from teachers, we're asking about more diagnostic assessments for phonological awareness. That was one area that we found last year we did not have a good diagnostic assessment as part of our programs. We have purchased the phonological awareness screening inventory, and our instructional facilitators will get trained on that next week, and then they will train in the buildings so that teachers can utilize that. And that is an assessment that is a diagnostic assessment. It's meant to be given as the teacher sees a need, and so it's about the right time for teachers to start utilizing that assessment with students. So we're excited to be able to offer that as an additional layer of screening.
Thank you, Ms. Worsham. Is there a question? Are there any questions?
I have a question, and it may be for Superintendent Poore about, are there any other school districts in the state that are doing the Schoology?
Thank you, Mr. Mason. I appreciate you asking the question, and Ms. Worsham may add to the list, but many of the larger districts are using it. So besides us, Springdale School System is, Conway is, I believe, Bryant and Jonesboro. Am I correct on that, Ms. Worsham, or am I missing anybody?
I can't confirm on the Bryant and Jonesboro. I can confirm Pulaski County, Clarksville, I know is using Schoology, and Conway.
Are there any other questions before we continue? The next presentation, we just wanted to present what our current COVID-19 numbers are. The screen that you see before you now, the left chart is for our students, the right chart is our staff. The bar graphs below, it actually reads from right to left and not left to right, but for the student chart, you will see for August 21st through August 28th, we had 1 positive case, 37 quarantined because of the positive case, and then district-wide for students, August 29th through September 4th, we had 4 positive cases with 34 needing to be quarantined students, and then from September 5th to September 11th, we had 5 positive cases and 102 students needing to be quarantined. For the staff, August 21st through August 28th, 6 positive cases, 32 quarantined. August 29th through September 4th, 5 positive cases, 25 quarantined. And then September 5th, through September 11th, 2 positive cases with 39 being quarantined. As of August 1st, when we started tracking the number of cases, both positive and quarantine, the chart to the left involves our students, and then the chart to the right reflects our staff cases. And per school, as you can see, August 1st, Dunbar had for students 0 positive cases, 43 quarantine. Parkview, 1 positive case, 33 quarantine. Died, 2 positive cases, 15 quarantine, and you can see for the rest of the schools that are listed. Again, this document, this PowerPoint will be provided to you after the CAB meeting. We'll email it to each of you. For August, since August 1st, for staff members, you can see our highest school number at the school, 1 positive case with staff, 10 quarantine. Dunbar, 1 positive case, 9 quarantine. Washington Elementary, 2 positive cases, 8 quarantine. And then you can see for Brady, Southwest, Little Rock High School, Pinnacle View, and the rest of the schools, that information. Any questions about the COVID-19 numbers? Again, I will tell you that there's a link. We update the COVID-19 notifications on our district website, as well as the Arkansas Center for Health Improvements website also tracks the data as well at the school district level. There were some questions about hydration. It's been communicated to all principals and followed up by Mr. Rutherford and Mr. Smith. We also do direct observations by visiting the schools about hydration, making sure that our students and staff members have access to water stations. Schools who do not have water bottle filling stations have developed plans to ensure that water is available to all students and staff members. As you can see the picture, one of the schools, I believe that's at Dodd, they have the water dispensers across the school for staff members and students. Some are using the water fountains, but with disposable cups, so that students and staff members will be able to access water at that time. As mentioned earlier, we have started to really zero in on the sanitization and disinfecting procedures because of just feedback. So we're listening to the feedback from our parents, from students, from community members, staff members, and so we wanted to make sure that we have a protocol that's district-wide of our expectations. We've also wanted to make sure that we're not just observing from our computers or our district office, so district leaders have made daily visits to the schools since the beginning of school to make sure that, one, education instruction is taking place, but also making sure that safety protocols are in place and are being followed, so that if we do get calls at the district office, we know for sure from our direct observation the areas of needs and the areas that have been addressed or do not need to be addressed. Again, principals are the point of contact. We want to remind everyone, if there are issues or things that need to be addressed, please give our principals the opportunity to address those concerns, those issues. And then if it goes beyond the principal, of course, Mr. Rutherford for secondary and Mr. Smith for elementary would be the point of contact to address those concerns. Beginning Monday, all schools will receive another round of PPE, wet wipes, handheld thermometers, as well as you see the picture of the informational booklet that our elementary students will receive. And it's a great informative book on how to follow just healthy protocols at home and school, while wearing the mask is important as well. And so all of our elementary students will receive that next week as well. A few district supports to highlight. Of course, several of these were mentioned. Most of our parents, staff members had the opportunity to participate in the Schoology after school support that was available starting this past Monday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. The topics were driven by the needs of the parents, of the teachers. We had teachers who joined to find out more about Schoology as well. In addition to that, our professional development office has created the Tech Tuesdays Tuesday and Thursdays for mini PD sessions on Schoology. So how to set up gradebook, how to sync their gradebooks, and so forth. So that information has been shared with our staff members as well. So not only are we wanting to provide the support for our parents and guardians and our staff members, but we want to make sure that our students have the support as well. So starting Monday, we will have the academic helpline via phone or Zoom. And so the links are available in the class link on the district website from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Elementary students, parents, guardians are able to either call or Zoom with a teacher or tutor on the core content areas, as well as information on how to operate within Schoology. Secondary has a separate phone line as well as a separate Zoom link, and that's available from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday as well. We've mentioned about the meals for virtual students. We also wanted to remind parents in our community that from now until the end of December, to December 31st, all students will receive meals at no charge. That's breakfast and lunch. But we do need our parents and guardians to help us out by completing the free and reduced meal applications at the school site. Those applications are available electronically. And so, but we need to make sure that we capture completed applications so we can continue to offer more resources, instructional resources, but also instructional programming that's provided by the funds that we receive from the completion of these free and reduced meal applications. So please, parents and guardians, complete those and turn them in to your local school. That completes our Ready for Learning plan update. Are there any questions or comments?
Any comments from or questions from any other board members? I have a couple of general questions. Mr. Poor, I've had a lot of comments about the action that Russellville School District took this week, and parents concerned that that might happen here. Can you assure us that that will not?
We really are pleased with what we're doing with Schoology, because we heard from parents, we heard from staff, we heard from kids last spring that they wanted that connection. They wanted to have a deeper tie with their teacher, and we think that Schoology offers the best opportunity. We also think Schoology is a long-term opportunity to continue to get better, because it provides almost like a warehouse for all the teaching tools and the apps. And yet it allows our teachers to have direct connection with our students. So we are not trying to move away from Schoology, because we feel like it's a much more dynamic tool, and it does allow our teachers to really be they're still teaching the class, and they're the conveyors of trying to impact education.
And so the transition between face-to-face and virtual occurs at the 9-week mark, most likely. When will you all start surveying parents to determine if they want to make a change, which I guess the 9 weeks is the middle of October?
Yes, it is the 19th, October 19th.
So you all will put out a survey, or will each school?
Schools, many schools have already started receiving applications. Parents know that that's the time to most parents, several parents have already contacted schools and have learned that that's the time for the transition. And so we'll continue to make sure parents know that that would be the time to change learning options. But that the forms have been available to parents since the first week of school. And so they've been submitting those outside the extenuating circumstances.
And
Ms. Fox, I'm going to jump in here too. I think it's on page 19 and 20 of our Ready for Learning plan. There's a specific type criteria that's there that still can impact us before the end of the 9 weeks, if that makes sense. So there are some extenuating circumstances that we obviously take into account for kids to transition before the end of the 9 weeks itself. And I'm almost positive it's on page 19 and 20. I'm getting pretty well versed at it, but that's where it's located. That's where it's located.
You all are living and breathing the learning plan. Mr.
Ms. Fox, can I jump in real quick on that too? That I do want to point out to our public that we're a little bit unique in this because many of the districts aren't allowing students to make a change until the end of the semester. So we are trying to be responsive to what parents and students want. You brought up earlier a little bit of nervous about, you know, the change that could occur and how that could impact either, you know, more students into environments or more into the virtual environment. But we've done a pretty good job of being responsive throughout this whole span of time, like Mr. Rutherford shared. And I think it's just the right thing to allow some changes at the quarter.
Thank you. All right, we will, if there are no other questions, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which I believe is the budget updates. I think we've had an adjustment on this and this will not be voted on tonight. Is that right, Mr. Poor?
That's correct. And I'll turn this over to Mr. Bailey pretty quickly, but he and his team have been working feverishly to you know, continue to get everything into the budget so that you can ultimately vote on it. We have a responsibility to have a budget approved before the end of this month. And so that's where we're at in terms of a timeline. We have asked board members and to be able to come back next week on Thursday for a special meeting just to approve the board meeting, approve the budget. And so we think it's a one agenda item and we'll come back and provide all the details. And of course, Mr. Bailey will provide you as much advanced information as he possibly can, but he and his team are working very hard and he can give you a little bit of some statistics that will be helpful to share a little bit where things are headed. You're still muted, Kelsey.
All right, I was trying to share my screen. Good afternoon again. Still working on budget here. Been having a few little technical difficulties with the state system going down for a day and a half. It actually went down a little while today. I'm gonna try to share my screen here. Somebody will allow me to and show you kind of where we ended up our year at and going forward. So right now where we are in the budget process, we pretty much have, we're finalizing our revenue projections. We're still getting a few of our federal grants in, just received one in as well. We're finalizing those documents. And, what I was doing most of the day was trying to actually post personnel budgeting. System went down about 2 o'clock and I just noticed none of my, well, half of my benefits didn't post out there. So that's not good. So I'm not sure we're gonna have to reset the system and just send an email over to see our contact at ADE to see if we can get some help in the morning on that. But let me see if my screen, still can't share my screen yet. Ms. Smith, are you able to allow me to share it or? All right.
Mr. Bailey, you should be good now.
Got it now. We wanted to just kind of show you, and I think we kind of went over this maybe preliminary on last month, but it's finalized now. So what we actually looking at, of course, our biggest revenue comes in from our tax base here. Like I said, if you ever see anything over here that's negative, that's a good thing. That means that we actually collected more revenue than we actually had budgeted. But when it's a positive like this 3.8 million, that means that revenue came in short, and that was for the second portion of the year. And basically what that comes down to is affecting the fund balance. And I'll go down to our fund balance, which you all typically get this, well, you all get this report every month, but typically our fund balance you want to focus on is really the 2000 series here. So that's our general operating along with our state categorical. So we went from 24 million down to 21.1. We knew we were going to go down some because we had to transfer money over to cover some of the our furniture, fixtures, and equipment for our Southwest new high school over there. Pretty much everything is there zeroed out. You see our bond account is at zero now. Our dedicated maintenance and operation is at zero as well. So the other ones are our federal programs along with our activity fund. Another report that's actually generating, we just received this today as well through Stevens Inc., which is our financial advisor. It's a continuing disclosure annual report we have to actually submit. I just want to kind of show you some highlights on here where our 5-year assessment has been at and has gone. So we average a growth of about 2.7%, which that's pretty decent, about 3%. Want to round up. And I can share this with you as well after the meeting, but I want to go down a little bit further here and look at our actual collection. And this is what we're looking at for this upcoming year as we project out. So you notice we have what was levied as a tax, what we actually collected, and what our collection rate is. So it's been, 98, 96% or so. We've typically been around the 98% just on the average. But you can notice on this past year, we had a little bit of dip, and that was a little under 96%. And that was, I think, pretty much contributable to COVID-19 and people's ability to actually pay their taxes or delaying the payment of taxes. So as we go in this fiscal year, we have to take in that consideration as well. This report is pretty good as well, because it shows in 2000 at least a 5-year fiscal year, and then one more fiscal year for our current fiscal year that we just ended. But this really shows where we actually ended up at. So we had a beginning balance overall with all our actual revenue sources, about 26.5 million. And these are where the sources that came in from all available funds. And this is where we actually ended up at the end of the year, about $21.8 million in our overall fund balance. So right now we're working feverishly to try to get budget done. We had a lot of personnel changes this year with the closure of McClellan Fair, rearrangement of Hall High School, and the staffing of Little Rock Southwest High. So took a little bit more time working with different staffs to really get that kind of down as far as possible, as many vacancies we had. We started off with about 300. I think we're going into this budget cycle with about 100 vacancies. All those aren't necessarily just for teachers. Some of those are custodial, child nutrition, security officers, and the like. So that's kind of where we are right now, but can't really show you. I told Mr. Poore earlier, I didn't want to show you any information that was incorrect on any spreadsheets right now. Right now, our numbers aren't adding up based on our personnel budget that we just loaded. We have those teacher retirement and some healthcare codes not showing right now, but that's really where we are right now. Hopefully we can get that resolved tomorrow morning and continue on to start the analysis and make sure all our coding is right, so we can have a complete package for you hopefully by a few days before Thursday on next week. So you don't get the 800-page budget document anymore, Ms. Fox. I know you were used to looking at that. We used to have about 800 pages. So it's consolidated now in some of these reports with e-finance. But that's kind of where we are. We didn't plan on the system going down, but it was statewide, so we really couldn't do anything about that. So we just lost about a day and a half of actual productivity.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Bailey from the CAB members? If not, Mr. Bailey, are you presenting the facts, or is Mr. Poore?
I believe that's going to be Mr. Poore. I have the calendar available, Mr. Poore. I don't know if on your presentation, if you're going to show the calendar or not.
We can. I hadn't planned on it, but that wouldn't be a bad thing to put at the end of this. So yeah,
okay.
We can do that. I'll turn it back over to you on the calendar. So Ms. Smith will be putting up a visual for you in just a few seconds that is called Just the Facts. One of the things that we can do as a school district, we can't promote to say, you got to vote for this, here's why, but we can present factual information behind this opportunity for the patrons to determine whether they want to do an extension of our debt service mills. So we have been talking to our PTAs, we've been talking to staff members about this, and we're starting to meet with different social organizations that allowing us to just share kind of some of the basic facts. So Ms. Smith, if you could put up the visual for this, I would appreciate it. The reality of this is that we are in a very, very favorable bond market. Some of you that are out in the audience may have bought a home in the last 5 years. And if you go look at your interest rate, the interest rate probably was maybe around 4%. And you probably were pretty thrilled with that 4%. But as of late last week on Friday, the interest rate was down to 2.8. That same type of opportunity when you think of refinancing and extending out our debt service allows us to go out into the bond market, and it's very favorable right now. And it would generate an opportunity for us to bring in over $200 million. And in a really favorable market, it could be as much as $220 million. You might remember that just 4 years ago, we had went to the voters with the same type of package with a debt extension, and that debt extension would have netted $170 million at that time. So again, the difference, the same question, it's allowing a whole different level of a result. So this is a sheet that we would like to get some feedback from you on, and we will, Pam was sending this to you electronically right now as well, so that you should find it in your email if you're having a hard time seeing it. But we're trying to make sure that we're just very factual. The millage rate will not change. The millage rate is really how much your personal property or your house is taxed. And it is not going to change if this is approved. The only way that you would have a change in your overall payment is if assessment changes. What we are trying to do is take the bond payments and extend them out over a greater period of time. In this case, it would be over 18 years. And that would generate money for us for, that will, again, will be over $200 million. You can see we provided some historical information. The last time the district had a vote that was approved by the public was a capital project vote that occurred in 1999. We also know that there was a real effort by the previous board in 2014 under the Fannie Howey study that generated over $340 million worth of needs that needed to happen in this school district that just had to occur to try to upgrade buildings. We know that we did tackle many of some of those needs through our second lien loan. And if you look down some of our second lien loan accomplishments, we don't go into great detail, but we try to provide some of the big things that were accomplished. And we should be very proud of the fact that we've got Southwest High School completed and have an outstanding facility down in the Southwest. We improved security systems for all secondary schools. We enhanced air conditioning at all of our kitchens so that all of our cafeterias, our employees there have air conditioning. Our gyms and all the secondaries, middle school, high school, we got air conditioning. Not one had air conditioning, and now we have that. We improved roofs at multiple buildings. We also improved our athletic facilities with all-weather tracks and turf fields. And we did some LED lighting to improve the way our lighting is both on the outside parking lots, and then our 6 largest energy hogs, we tackled that with LED lighting. And that's just a very small set of things that we did, but big things that took up some of the money. You can see that there's a superintendent recommended projects for approval if we have approval on the extension of the debt. These things, really the only one that it just has to happen is at the very top of the list of having an extension, of moving forward on the McClellan campus to tear that building down and then to move Cloverdale to that campus. And of course, our blueprint showed that we also have moved 2 elementaries. That has to happen as a result of the lawsuit that was settled. And that's the remaining thing left on that lawsuit. And basically in the lawsuit settlement, we said that we would not do any other major construction project until we got a new campus for Cloverdale. And of course, we have that going to happen at the McClellan campus. We know that there needs to be modifications in the high school campuses. And each of them are unique and different, whether you want to look at Central High and the portables that are back there, and the lack of good science labs and space, to some athletic facility needs at that campus, to Parkview, who needs an upgrade on its auditorium and its fine arts area, just to name a couple things. Hall, of course, we have needs at that campus to improve and tie it into the new STEAM concept. And even in the Northwest, there are needs up in that area as we grow larger. You can see that we want to enhance security systems for the elementary. We did the security systems at the secondary level, but we did not get that done for the elementary. We want to improve air quality throughout all of our campuses. Remember that most of our buildings have an average age of 60 years or older. And so we want to improve the air quality, and it's not just about putting a new filter on, it's really about doing the engineering behind it so that we do it right and have long-term success. Want to continue with LED projects, and we need some upgrades within technology. The upgrades in technology, Ms. Fox in particular might remember that in 2009 and 10, that's when this district bought smartboard technology. And smartboard technology was really put into every classroom, but if you think about that, how many of us have kept our TV from 2009? We've gone to high definition TVs or smart TVs, and we need to do the same thing for our classrooms. The community impact of this particular, moving forward, we want to point out that the new elected board will help prioritize and make decisions about what it is that we are going to move forward on. That's going to be their role. We know that $200 million in capital projects really bring an investment into our community. And previously, when we went forward to the voters, we knew that it was a 1.8 multiplier into the community with the construction project. So it's a gift that when this is approved, it creates jobs and it creates additional resources going out into the communities. So those folks that come in to work also are buying in our restaurants, our grocery store, gas stations, all those type of things. It allows us, obviously, if we were to have success on this, lets us compete by having our facilities being top notch. And we also think that one of the other unique things that has not been in place before is we actually can leverage a state partnership with the voter approval, which has not always been the case, hasn't been the case. So that's a unique opportunity. Mr. Bailey, is there anything that you would have liked me to enhance or added to what I've said before we take some questions on this?
I think you pretty much covered. So, of course, you mentioned technology. We have other technology as we truly go to a one-to-one with more devices out there. It may be possible for us to look at additional access points in our schools, installing additional routers and additional switches there to make sure everything is, running at top speed out there as well. So a lot of technology, I think, upgrades be needed throughout, along with flooring. Something that has really kind of kept us going is trying to maintain what we call the VCT flooring, where we have to strip and wax that flooring. Hard to maintain as many buildings we have, but going to what's called a luxury vinyl tile. If you walked into our foyer, that's what we have here at the boardroom now. So it's the no wax tile, the luxury vinyl. It can have a matte or semi kind of gloss finish on it, but it's much easier to maintain without all the stripping and waxing. So some of the beautification projects like that, and some things, maybe around the building, trying to do some beautification projects as well. So.
And I'll add to that, in different individual schools, we have talked to those staffs about some things that would be unique. As an example, at Williams Magnet, one of the things, and also happens to be down at Mapleville Middle, have terrible drainage issues at that campus. Sometimes it actually impacts a little bit coming into the building, but more it impacts student access as they walk and move or try to get into the playgrounds. And so we've got some work like that in different parts of the campuses that we've got to try to take care of if we were granted the opportunity with passage on this.
All right, any CAB members, do you have any questions? All right, Mr. Poor, I think there's one thing on here that should be pointed out, and that's that the new elected board will make the final determinations on how the spending and these projects are prioritized.
It's on the top bullet on the right-hand side under community impact.
I see that, but I want to state it out loud again because
Okay.
this isn't something that we're deciding on as a CAB members. This is information that the new board will take, or the projects will take and determine what's best for the district. So, all right, if there's no other questions on that, we'll move on to the policy readings. I believe we have several first readings. Mr. Poor, are we adopting the entire section or just the policies that have updates?
It would just be the 4 revisions. I was going to kind of explain why I'm doing it a little different this time around and wanted to kind of explain that.
Okay, go ahead.
So good evening, everyone. So the ASBA makes recommendations on policy twice a year, and historically, I've saved those and tried to do a one-time review of each section every year. I wanted to try this time to kind of take all of the revisions that are released. The most recent revisions came out on June 24th, and they contained a lot of information that would need to kind of be adopted relatively soon, as in past years. And instead of just kind of waiting, I wanted to kind of try to take care of those now. And so what happens is I make the revisions on each of the sections, and then the entire section goes to whatever department is responsible for the area. Like Mr. Bailey would be business finance, Ms. Worsham, curriculum instruction. And we wanted, I guess, you all to look at the entire document as well, but we're only looking at, revisions at this point. And so the ASBA recommended revisions and any potential revisions that would exist within the different departments if they want, or the PPCs for sections 3 and 8 in particular. So want to give the CAB a chance to look at the entire document in case you all wanted to address any particular policies, but the only ones that are up are the ones that are up for revision are noted in red. And so the next month for the second reading, my intent is to only provide the policies that have a revision on them. And so for first reading, we have, sections 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7. And some of the sections have very, very minimal revisions. I'm going to point out on section 1, they are located in 1.19, 1.11, and 1.11. There was I think I mislabeled. I did a quick little outline, and I think I just mislabeled the policy formation as 1.9, and then 1.11, and then 1.19. And those are where the changes exist. Some changes are strictly the legal reference or the cross-reference, and that's in 1.11. 1.19 specifically notes the change from a 7-member board to a 9-member board, and it highlights an area where we want to work on maybe the kind of how terms are going to be staggered. I believe the superintendent has some ideas about that, but we're going to work on the language and present that next month. And that ultimately is section 1. If there are any questions about it, I can answer now.
Yeah, can I interrupt there,
Sure.
Mr. Walker? And I think for members of the audience and CAB members, and especially where we have 2 of the CAB members tonight that will ultimately be board members, the terms of office really will be determined by that new board, whether it's going to be 3-year terms or 5-year terms. But I do want to share my philosophy would be that we make that decision, and we also make a decision about who has the longer terms. Once you determine that, of who will actually maybe serve, if it's a 5-year thing, who serves 5 years, who actually is up for election after 1 year. We also know that there's a census, and my thought would be that we craft the policy so that if you're once you're there, you don't have to get reelected just because the census came out. If you still have the same zone, you get to stay in the same zone. And I think we can do some wording on that will allow us so that we don't have a dramatic change of having, 9 new board members, because that's not healthy. That's hard to do. And so we're going to work on that, and you'll see at least that initial recommendation coming forward, and then the new board will have to tackle that immediately.
I don't have any questions about these changes. Mr. Mason or Ms. Morning, do you all have any questions or comments on section 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. One thing, Mr. Walker, is on our agenda on the cover page, it doesn't list section 1. The actual documents are in our packet, but just in the heading. So for next month, we might want to include that. And with that, we will move on to section 8 in the classified personnel.
Right. Section 8 is the classified personnel section. It is one that has been pending for a couple months before you all. One thing I kind of wanted noted in section 8, as well as in some of the first readings in section 3, there are on August 14th, Title IX implemented 2,000 pages of new policy, and so new regulation, excuse me, and that impacted our policy to some degree. So before, between the first reading and this reading, the sexual harassment section and some of the information regarding what needs to be on the website under Title IX, which is, primarily sexual harassment, all of those are updated into section 8 as well. And the language is comparable, specifically language in 8.13, 8.20 deal with is the newer language that I don't think that you guys have seen previously, but it is to adhere to the Title IX regulations. Everything else are just the general updates from ASBA, and this classified PPC made a couple of adjustments as well, specifically on.
Mr. Walker, is that highlighted in yellow, the PPC comments or suggestions?
That is not. I actually kept it in red, and I should have highlighted in yellow. I can point out where it was done. It was in specifically 8.38 is the vacation section, personal vacation. It is a rewrite ultimately to kind of make our policy match what we're actually doing, our actual practice in the way vacation days are calculated and how you accrue them versus the employee model. But I can update the highlighting for that particular section, but that's where the change was noted from the PPC.
So under 8.4 on page 6, testing for cause, it's highlighted. Is that just a language change? Why is it highlighted?
Let me get to it real fast.
And I don't believe we'll be able to vote on this tonight because we don't have a quorum. Mr. Poor, are you amenable to adding this to the special meeting next week for when you did the budget?
Yes, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I was going to share that as well, that maybe we can just put this on and have it as well.
Actually, that is a change that PPC made. That is correct. I did highlight that particular one, but not the 8.38.
Okay. Well, that is all the questions I have. Mr. Mason or Ms. Morning, do you have any questions about this particular section of policies?
No.
I did want to point out on one, I noticed when I was going through and highlighting each of the changes on this outline that I created that section 8.20, the one that kind of encapsulates the sexual harassment updates from Title IX, there are notations that are on the back of that ASBA recommends that usually that are not part of the policy. Usually ASBA recommend, when they make the recommendations, they're explaining why they're making the recommendation and what law is at issue and that kind of thing. I intended to take that out, and I did in section 3's language, but I missed that particular in 8.20. So the next, when you see it again, those notes will be taken out before final approval, final vote.
8.20.
Yes.
Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. All right. So we will have this on the agenda for the special meeting for a vote. And that's it. Is there anything else, Mr. Walker?
Nope, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, at last, we've come to our board comments. Mr. Mason, you have any comments this evening?
No, I just want general public and everyone to be safe. That's all.
Wear your mask. Ms. Morning, do you have any more comments to make?
Well, I just wanted for clarity. I know he just talked about he'd be making some updates, but we'll get that before the next meeting.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Okay, great.
I'll second Ms. Morning, because the sooner we can get this information as well as the budget information for us to look through in preparation for the meeting next week would be very helpful. I do have one comment, and I didn't want to interrupt you when you were doing your celebrations, Mr. Poor, but you celebrated a custodian named Keisha Dunn.
Yes.
And I don't know if you are aware, she was in Savvy Kids in July. There she is. And it's a great article. She talks about her sons and the climate that we're in right now. And I have not met her, but she sounds like a wonderful woman. So congratulations to her. And I just wanted to give her a shout out.
Thank you. That's great.
And Mr. Ford, do you have any more comments or announcements that you need to make before we adjourn?
You know, you immediately after you go through what I went through tonight, you think of all sorts of things, and my phone's been blowing up. But you know, one thing that I forgot to mention that I'll share at the end of this is I've got two great parents. That's the one thing I wished I would have said earlier. I've got a mom and dad that are incredible people, and you know, we think about the value of parents and what they bring into our school system, and what my mom and dad did for me and continue to do for me. They're pretty amazing people, and I aspire to try to be a little bit like them. And sometimes my dad could be a hard man, but I try to be a little bit of that too. I'm not. I just appreciate everything that my parents did for me, and I wish I had said that during the thing. But thank you for allowing me that opportunity to share something else.
Well, congratulations again. What an honor. So, all right, at this moment, if there's no objections, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.